Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hey there, welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm always glad to have you back. Hey, if you haven't done so, if you wouldn't mind doing so, please subscribe to the podcast. It's on 30 different channels, the biggest one being Apple, so go on out there and subscribe. It really helps a lot behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on in these podcasts, and you doing that, it's free to you, and for us, it helps us further the cause and serve more people. So while you're out there, by the way, go to globalinvestoragent.com, okay, and check it out. If you're an investor, you can find investor agents all over the country, and if you are an agent, you definitely need to click on the to learn more button because the market is changing right in front of us, and this is a way for you to tap into that and not just panic, but be prepared. That's the lesson for today. And we got a great guest today. You're actually going to talk about this, right? We got Iven. Is it Vian?
Vian.
Vian. Thank you, Iven. Iven Vian, from beautiful Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I've been there before. If you've never been there, and if you're an outdoorsman, go to Oklahoma. And if you're a sportsman, go to Oklahoma City. So, in any case, hey, Iven, good to have you here, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this. I know you're busy because I know what you're doing, and I know we're blessed to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Gary. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and I look forward to being here.
Yeah, well, this is going to be so fun because I very rarely get another guest who's you're doing exactly what I've been doing, and it makes so much sense. Like it's not just a mathematical certainty. You're succeeding, but you're able to help other people, investors and agents alike. So let's just jump right in. First off, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit of background. Oklahoma, the state, is a great place to invest in. And you got Oklahoma City and Tulsa, the two main metro areas. And your area, it's stable. You've got, high tech, higher education, hospital systems, some of the key components you need to succeed. But how did you end up there? What brought you to Oklahoma City, and how did you get into this crazy business of investing and being an investor agent?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give you the quick synopsis. I am a retired Air Force veteran. I spent 20 years in the Air Force flying B-1 bombers. Through my Air Force experience, I'll be placed into these cities that were conducive to owning rental property. Always had the goal and dream of being my own boss when I retired from the Air Force. So I got started in the real estate market in 2008, bought a little single family property, learned about cash flow, and wanted to scale thereafter. Fast forward, I got relocated to Tinker Air Force Base, which is in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, back in 2013. And this was after having to reset and start over on my real estate business. But I hit the ground running and bought a few single family rental homes. But I ran out of capital, and my broker at the time said, "Hey, go get your real estate license, and you can help me sell some real estate." I said, "Sure, why not?" So got my real estate license, handed me some clients, and it was just off to the races. The market was just prime. It was amazing. It's so exciting. We're buying houses at $33,000, $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 a pop that were worth around $60,000 to $80,000 all in. We're getting really good deals, and I had about 5 clients. And basically, I would serve them on my lunch break and after work if I wasn't flying. Ended up selling about 99 homes in 2 years. I took all that extra capital and was able to buy me a portfolio of homes, about 30 homes or so I had. But I wanted to scale up quicker and got tired of going to Home Depot, frankly. It was getting exhausting for me. So jumped into multifamily space back in 2016, got out of single family and hit the ground running in that space. And today we've done about 3,000 doors. Purchased about 19 properties, sold 14 with about an average annualized return around 27%. So been blessed, very grateful to have this experience and to be here now doing this full time.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, you've hit on a couple of really critical points there, and I'm really impressed, and I admire you for doing 3,000 units like that. And I think when I was reading I was doing some intel gathering, it looked like once you bought your first property, you did 99 like in the next 2 years, something like that. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, sold 99 homes. I had a good setup. My broker took care of the back end. I simply had to go underwrite the deal, open the door, make an offer on it, and then that they would get across the finish line. But we got so good at it, I created this thing called a predictability model, where I knew on the other side of these homes, these REOs and foreclosures, there's asset managers managing these assets sitting on the books. And I knew on a quarterly basis by how many percentage points they would drop the pricing if no one actually bought it. So I was able to strategically place my offers to be able to scoop up these properties, still with favorable pricing, but using timing to my advantage. For example, at the end of a quarter, if looking at a HUD home at the time, if nobody was striking on it, I knew they would drop the price about 8%. So I'd offer maybe a 10% less price, and typically I would get the deal if no one else was within that window, right? So that's how I was able to strategize a little bit on the investor realtor side.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I really want to appeal to the investors listening, but I know the realtors listening, boy, if you guys aren't pulled over in your car right now and taking notes on this, you're crazy. You know, you got Iven here telling you exactly what he's been doing to succeed as an investor realtor, right? But for all the investors, listen to some of the numbers that Iven's talking about. You can't just do that in every market, you know. I mean, try to do that in California, New York, you know, some of the bigger, more expensive markets. Not going to happen. But Oklahoma City, 27%. That people would give their right arm for that kind of return, you know. So let's talk about the market there. It's been a few years since I've been there. I have taught classes there on a number of occasions. It's always been one of the more favorable markets as far as the cost basis, like cost basis relative to cash flow. Sounds like it still is, but if you, like a lot of parts of the country, I've been in the years 20 through late 2022, seen those rapid increases in prices, or what's sort of the landscape there? I know we've all are, you know, getting hit by the same interest rate raises, but what about the market itself? What's the cost basis and the cash flow like now compared to, say, 2019 or something, you know?
Sure. Well, cost basis, relatively speaking, compared to other primary markets like a Dallas market, Atlanta, or Salt Lake City, of course, we're probably, I would say, half of what it is in those primary markets. From a multifamily perspective, you're looking at $65,000-$70,000 a door for a Class C product. However, correlative to that, rent rates are significantly lower, $900 some dollars or so per unit, where in a Dallas market could be 12, 13, 1400, even 1500 in some areas. So, you know, we've had the same tailwinds in as other markets because of the amount of liquidity in the market and outside investors wanting to get into the Oklahoma City market. But what I would say is attractive to this market is there is diversity. I think the stigma of this market is that it's oil and gas based, but I've been here for about 10 years and I've seen the diversification intent take place, where they're trying to bring in companies that are based in another markets. So we have biotech, we have IT, we have technology companies coming into this place. But of course, we have the big air base where I retired from, which is one of the huge employers. Of course, we have government, we have schools, which is makes it a very stable economy. So I would classify this economy to be more of a stable, steady climb. But if you're looking for a good cost basis entry to get into real estate, and any asset class for that matter, definitely Oklahoma at large is a great market to get in. Yeah.
Well, you know, you mentioned the military base and oil and gas, and I just want to brief education here for all the listeners. This is my own opinion based on 37 years experience. Wherever you invest, if you've got 3 or more solid industries, you're probably going to be okay. It's going to be stable. So oil and gas would be considered an anchor industry, but a big military base is also really good to have. They're usually very stable. They're going to be there for decades, you know, generally speaking. But if you also have higher education, which you definitely have, and you got a strong hospital system, you've got at least four major industries represented there. That's stability. Even if a base gets closed down, which generally won't happen. I don't think we're going to see that again for a long time. You've still got 3 others up and running. So, but you mentioned we're talking about the cost basis and the cash flows. The cool thing is while there is a greater degree of diversity between cost bases in different parts of the country, there's not as much of um, diversity in the rental rates. In other words, you're getting like $900 a month per unit, where Dallas is getting maybe 13, but your cost per unit is lower, relatively speaking, than Dallas. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you can make more cash flow dollar for dollar basis in a more expensive area, and I'm all about that. But when you look at percentages, guys, you know, you can't you can't fudge that. The percentages are what they are, and the better percentage, the greater return on a percentage basis over time. In other words, you're getting more bang for your buck. You might have to get more properties, but you know what? That's okay, because if you have your eggs spread across multiple baskets, you have security there too. The one thing I want to touch on, Ivan, if you don't mind, is um, I like the fact that your background is you've been in the military, you served. I think you did 20 years. Is that right? Did the 20?
Yes.
And
Yep.
so you've got certain mental and psychological skills and habits you develop. My family's military going back a long ways. I was the oddball. My dad actually told me, "Don't do it." I was going to go. Actually, did work at Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia. So I got to hang around a lot of Air Force guys there. Worked on the NASA project, space shuttle project at NASA. But in any case, you bring certain things to the table that I call mindset. Would you mind touching on your mindset briefly, and then let's go into how you're getting these deals, because it sounds like you're bringing people together to do deals together. But if you could, I want to everybody listen to a little bit of talk about your mindset, if you don't mind doing that first.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, and we can end the show just on this topic if we want to, but so mindset, in the military environment, I mean, you're definitely in a very stressful environment, but it was a very dynamic environment. And so when it comes to mindset, you're going to be tested, right? In the military environment. And this is going to make sense to the environment we're in today. You're going to be tested. So you have all this training, all this knowledge, all this, maybe you have a little experience, you're kind of a junior officer at the time, and then they kick you out and they say, all right, go to war and put everything you learned to test. And you literally are in situations where you're putting everything to test. And it's, you're in situations where you don't know exactly how you're going to get there, but you have to trust yourself, and you have to trust all the training and time and effort, energy. And it has to come from a place of truly knowing yourself. And granted, we're not in a war zone or anything like that, but as I kind of take myself back there, thinking through where I was at that time, you kind of have to be at peace with yourself too, but there's this inner confidence, I guess, that comes from, I would say, through repetition. So there's a takeaway. The way I was able to get confident in my skill in the Air Force, we've trained and trained and trained and trained and trained and trained, and we talked about training, and we talk about training. And then we not only go out and physically do it, but we do these dry runs and all these contingency planning and all of this, what if this happened, what if that happened kind of scenarios. And all of that training came into the mix of whatever situation you're in. So I'm in a war environment and nothing's going as planned, but I have all of this training to back me up. And I was able to come together with my teammates. Ultimately, it's a team effort, which that is another takeaway, is that real estate is a team effort. There's a team effort for us to get through these very uncertain times in order for you able to still find a way to win and succeed. There is that bulldog thing that comes up in you and that says, you know what, I'm not going to let this situation take me down. I'm going to find a way to win and get on the other side. And it's not all about you. It's about the team. It's about the team mindset and the team effort. And so in today's environment, it is very dynamic. There are a lot of uncertain things that are going on. There is a lot of maybe fear in the market as well. But you have to know at the end of the day what it is you truly want for yourself. And you have to have clarity and understanding. That takes time to get to that place, to really know what it is. And then you have to learn to be honest with yourself about that and be realistic with yourself and understand the price that what it's going to cost from time, effort, energy, sacrifice standpoint to get that certain goal, desire, dream that you want. Maybe it's enough cash flow to be able to retire from your job or from your 9 to 5, or maybe it's to have additional income so you can have more time in your life and not have to spend 70 hours a week on your job. Whatever it is, you do have to put in that additional time to get you to the other side, right? And so understand what those factors are, right? And so, yeah, it's the same thing today's market. We're all in challenging situations. Not every deal works out. Not every, there may not be any deals that you're seeing right now, but you have to be persistent and consistent and rely on your team. In this case, if you have investors working with realtors, rely on the insight of your realtor. If you have realtors working with clients, continue to encourage your clients to keep at it. You'll get your deal. Keep at it. You'll get your deal. You'll find a way to win.
Yeah. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for participating in the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Also wanted to let you know that the book Global Investor Agent is officially out in print and in Kindle on Amazon. You can get it by clicking on the link right here. If you are an agent, definitely grab yourself a copy. This book, guys, was not just written by me. I also included 8 other investor agents from around the country. And I didn't just handpick them. I literally opened it up to the entire audience, and it was first come, first serve. So you're going to get feedback from brand new agents all the way up to top 25 team leaders. Some on my team, some are not on my team, with valuable insight and instructions and guidance and actual checklists to follow to not just survive, but thrive in this market. I know you're looking for that advantage, and this is it. By the way, if you are an investor, grab a copy for your agent. And for everybody, all profits from the sale of the book, Kindle and print, all go to the Healing House Foundation, 100%. Thank you for doing that too, guys. Let's get back to the show. Well, I love it. And the cool thing is probably one of the most important things is you mentioned you've got to believe in yourself and of course your training, but also your systems and each other. And then the big one for me is, to me, it comes down to being disciplined, having willpower, and just having just enough courage to take those first steps. You have to move forward. You have to take action. If you don't do that, nothing's going to happen. And I thank goodness, a lot of pilots in the Air Force and Navy end up becoming commercial pilots. And I love the fact that they do come from military training because they're trained and conditioned to be decisive and to take action quickly, gathering information as quickly as possible, be decisive. Because you can't sit back and say, well, let's have a committee meeting next week and we'll figure this out. No, you're in the air. You got sometimes seconds or less to react. So in real estate, it's not that dramatic. However, there are times in real estate, you've got to be able to be decisive and act quickly, because if you don't, somebody else is going to snap up that deal. So let's talk about the deals. Let's talk about the assets. Now, obviously, you mentioned rentals, so that's buy and hold, and you've got to manage those assets. Some people call it property management. Some people call it asset management. To me, it's actually 2 different things. Property management is the physical nature of dealing with tenants and maintenance and repairs and things like that. Asset management is at a higher level. You're maximizing income. You're minimizing expenses. You're being strategic. But how do you accomplish that? And do you actually partner with other people? Like say there's some other military folks who are listening right now, active duty, retired, reserves. They might want to participate with you. And is there a way to do that? And how can you describe to them how you're actually managing these assets?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I am launching an asset management academy here soon, so I'm excited to get that off the ground. And but it's very simple. And I flew B-1 bombers. In order to create a plan to get from point A to point B or point A to point Z, we start with the end in mind. We start with point Z and work our plan backwards. If I knew the runway was over here and I was taking off over here, I build a plan from point Z all the way back to where I'm taking off from this point A at the runway. Well, it's no different in the real estate world. What is point Z? what is the end? The end, in our case, we have a fiduciary responsibility to meet or exceed our projected investor returns. And we devise a business plan from that end goal backwards all the way to the point of acquisition to get us to the end goal. Then we work with our team, this is a team effort, to implement the plan. And the way the plan is, in our case, it's the pro forma, we underwrite, we have a business model, but in the property management's minds, it's the budget. You build that budget together, and then you guide and lead the team along the way, knowing what your end goal is for them to get there. And a lot of that is ability to do that came from my military experience, of course, and understanding how to work, in the planning environment and contingency planning environment to devise plans and then talk about the what ifs and contingency planning and how to mitigate the risk. And a lot of that thinking goes into how we operate our properties today. Well, I don't do property management, like you said, I do asset management. So then I rely on my team members, and I include the property management company, and I see them as a partner, as a team member in the team. And I work with them to communicate with them exactly what is the goal. The key is for them to understand where you're coming from. Likewise, you need to understand where they're coming from, what their priorities and what their roles and responsibilities are. There's that saying, understand first in order to be understood. So understand what their job is in order for you to be understood. Just in doing that, you'll create this relationship, you'll create this bond, and then you can go out and implement and build this business plan. And then you're guiding and leading. Sometimes it's leading, sometimes it's managing, sometimes it's cracking a whip. Sometimes you have to be professional yet stern, right? And other times you encourage, you praise. You always find ways to show how people are performing well. The word slips my mind here, but you always bring that up, because I tell you what, these property management people, they live in the trenches every day. They literally live in these apartments and these buildings, and some of these demographics are not favorable. It's almost a thankless job, because there's always something that you're not doing right, or always something else that comes up. You can never find. So you got to understand that. And so the morale of the whole thing is very important. So you as a leader is important to keep morale high, much like in the military environment when we're facing the battle and everything's going wrong, and the only thing you want to do is be home with your family, and you still got to stay in the fight. You got to keep morale high, right? It's the same thing in these properties. And so that's a little bit how I go about doing it as an asset manager.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate that, because that level of, at the thought level of what you described, there are most people don't ever articulate that, or not even to get to that level. So I think everybody just got a really big golden nugget out of that. But if let's shift gears a little bit, because in order for all this to occur, obviously it involves real estate agents. You and I are both licensees, and I got my license because I was an investor and I had no interest in a traditional business. It was all about investing for me, and I'm sure you're sort of similar. But if I was an agent in Oklahoma City right now or in the surrounding area, I'm probably got my ears perked up really big time, because I know the market's changing, and I know when the market goes down, the owner and occupant business typically goes down with it. But ironically, the investor business generally picks up, and it's a great way for agents to participate, remain in the business, and not just survive but thrive. But what can you say to the agents out there who are starting to get nervous or thinking, man, the volume's down, and gee, I don't know, I'm the sole breadwinner here and I might have to do something else. I can hear it because I've seen it. This is my 5th market cycle, by the way. And I've seen it before. Last recession was pretty dramatic. Half the agents left the business. But for those of you listening, if you're an agent, the other half that stuck around actually increased their business. The volume only dropped 25% in the last recession, transaction volume, from point A to point B, the beginning and the end. But half the agents left. That means if half the agents stayed, and not all of them increased their business, but people like me, our business grew 6-fold in those 3 years because we work with investors. So I'm going to kind of prime the pump there. But what can anything, any news for those guys, or anything? Can they contact you to work with you? How's that work out?
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, about 99% of my 99% of my realtor experience is as an investor realtor. I've only worked with investors. And let me tell you, the investor world is on fire here in Oklahoma City. There is tremendous amount of opportunity. We cannot keep up with the amount of volume and calls that we're getting with all of the interest we're getting in this market, both from sellers and a buyer standpoint. And so maybe those that are in the residential world, maybe this is your time to pivot a little bit and get some quick education to learn about the investor world and get plugged into the investor community. How I got plugged into the investor community is through the local meetups. The local meetups have the investors there. You get their business card and then you go out and find investor properties and sell them deals, yeah. Right? And then don't be afraid to pivot, right? And so get maybe into commercial real estate. If you're experienced in the residential world, selling residential homes, not only can you sell maybe investor residential homes, but get into commercial real estate, industrial, warehouse, triple net leases, leasing, things like that. Don't be afraid to pivot with the market. And yeah, the housing volume and all those things are slowing down and sales are slowing down, but the commercial world is actually picking up, right? And also more and more opportunities are going to be coming to the market, especially the multifamily arena, because we know all of the people that took on bridge debt in the past 2 or 3 years, and which is coming to term and may not be able to refi, and the valuations are not there because the market has devalued basically a little bit. So there's going to be some good opportunities coming up. Now is the time to get in that market. This is the next cycle. It's coming to light. Right. So go out, get education, invest in yourself, find another way to stay in the business. And, as an investor realtor, there's always a way to make a deal. First of all, I've always took care of my clients. If my clients were full and they were happy, then I would go get my own deal. So if you can't sell it, or if you don't want to buy it, maybe you can sell it, or maybe you can find a way to still lease it out. There's always more than one way to make money in real estate, right? Buying, investing, selling, leasing, etc. So I would just learn to be open to these new ideas, and you can still stay in this investor realtor world.
Yeah, I agree. It's I've been telling people since last year when they first started raising the rates. I said, look, guys, the writing's on the wall. They have to cool this economy down. Inflation is way too high. I mean, they printed way too much money. Granted, we had to do something because of the pandemic. I just think they probably printed too much, quite frankly. But different story for a different day. But back to reality. There's something else you mentioned about, and you've got I can see on the background, Anthem Capital, and you're having a new venture going on. I know there's a lot of rules and regulations with this, but let's talk about your vision for that and what your intention is, and how can investors participate as well as agents too, or when you're putting together these deals and involve multiple people. I feel maybe elaborate on that, because I want people to see where the industry could be going, and particularly for you in Oklahoma City, where you're going with this, because you're getting to your next level. And I think other people are be interested to not only learn but participate with you.
First of all, if they're interested in Oklahoma City market overall, I've been here for quite some time now. They can get a hold of me through my cell. I'll say it now: 405-757-9897, or my email, Iven, IVEN, at anthemcp.com, IVEN at anthemcp.com. Last is a page of mine, unlockwealthpotential.com, unlockwealthpotential.com. Again, if you want to get involved in the commercial real estate market, please don't hesitate to reach out. What I do on the multifamily side, we syndicate funds, either through accredited investors or non-accredited investors. Non-accredited investors, I just have to have a prior existing relationship prior to that offering. So now's the time to get in contact with us, and our landing page or web, you'll see unlockwealthpotential.com. You'll learn a little bit more about what this is, and get involved in understanding of the multifamily real estate market. We raise capital, so we help people earn passive income to replace their earned income, so they can go out and live the life that they want to live. Maybe again, have less time having to work on your job, or converting some of your active income to passive income, so you can have more time to go on vacation or spend time with your family. And that's what we do with Anthem Capital. And we are active in the market. We're heavily looking at various asset classes. Multifamily is our strong suit. What we've done a number of years, but we're also in storage, we're industrial, triple net leases, some of the other asset classes that we are in. And we're looking in various markets in order to expand our horizons.
Nice. Well, I tell you what, if I want to kind of wrap this up with a really interesting subject. You mentioned, going and being able to have freedom of time to go on vacation, spend time with your family, but also the freedom of control over your time versus a 9 to 5. So this is for, if you're an investor, pay attention. If you're an agent, pay attention. But what can you tell people about making that transition from the 9 to 5 into the kind of role that you and I, the kind of life that you and I live, I know I came from the corporate world, so it was not like military, but we're both coming from structured environments to where we're in control,
I think that's it. Listen, like, we're still young, or we still have ability to make money or do some good. So it's not like I'm not busy, right? Mm-hmm. I'm actually more busy than I've ever been in my entire life, but I'm having the most amount of fun I've ever had in my entire life. Why? Because I have the ability to determine where I'm going to have fun at. I literally am in control of my schedule. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go ask permission to go look at a property, other than maybe my wife, but you guys know how that is if you're married, right? Yeah. So, and that's what this is about. And it is possible. It is a doable thing. I mean, I was a guy, middle-class guy, income-wise in the military. I'm very grateful for my experience, but it wasn't like I was making buku's amount of money, but I found a way to get into this space and do quite well. And the people listening to this can also do the same. They can do quite well. What I would suggest, join a mastermind, get some education, and build a team. You don't have to do it all on your own. That was one of the keys to my success, getting an education and have a great team.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, that's been all that I've done since January 1986 has led to this point where I've had a brokerage before, had property management, titles, appraisal, all these businesses, and then had a regular production team when I was training. But I built a team now that's actually gone national, and it's not just me and a bunch of other agents out there serving people. We actually have 6 employees that work just for our team, regular 9 to 5 employees. That's all they do. They're not licensed. And that team, that's like the backbone, man. That's the structure that allows us to go out there and serve all these people and do these awesome projects. So everybody listening, I'm going to repeat a couple of things here. I want you you can email Iven, it's IVEN, okay, at anthemcp.com, and also visit unlockwealthpotential.com. So remember that, unlockwealthpotential.com. And get a hold of Iven, see how you can participate either as an investor or an agent, or my preference is both. If you're an investor and you don't have your license, you're missing out. I know the old gurus say you don't need to get your license, but you know what? Times have changed. I'm telling you, it helps, and I'm living proof of it. While you're out there, by the way, online, please leave a review for Iven's interview here. Okay, go to Apple, pick the podcast, Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Leave a review for this one in particular, because you got to hear it, not from me, but from another person, Iven, who's also doing the same thing. It doesn't get any better than that. And by the way, before you leave the internet, again, go to globalinvestoragent.com. Check it out. Click on Learn More, particularly if you are an agent. If you're in Oklahoma City, call Iven. If you're elsewhere, just click that Learn More button, and we'll show you how you can participate. Do the same thing Iven and I are doing, and I'm telling you, you will not just survive or thrive. So Iven, thank you again, man, for doing this. I appreciate you, brother, for sharing your wisdom. You've done an awesome job.
My pleasure. It's been an honor to be on your show, and hopefully we're able to help some people.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did. This was a bullseye. And for everybody listening, God bless you too and your families. And we'll see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.